and welcome to Tame Your Quilt Queue. I'm Meghan Morris, the pattern designer and longarm quilter behind A Piece of Quiet Quilts, where I design timeless, sophisticated quilt patterns and offer edge-to-edge longarm quilting services. I'm a bit of a tech nerd, and as a solopreneur, I love using systems that help me stay organized. I'm really super excited to share with you one of these systems today. So today I'm going to share with you an organizational tool called Trello. And I'm also going to share with you my free template to tame your quilt queue. Trello is a free digital tool that you can use in your browser or with the app on your phone or tablet. If you don't already have an account, you can go to Trello.com and sign up for free. I've also created a board template just for you that you can copy and customize. You'll get the link when you sign up at www.apieceofquietquilts.com/summit. Okay, let's get started. So this is Trello. This is what it will look like once you have opened up the board that I've shared with you. And I'm going to take you through explaining a little bit about how Trello works in general and also how you will use this particular board. You can, once you have Trello set up, you can use this to create as many boards as you like. Um, so let's go over a little bit of vocabulary. Trello works with items called boards. So this is a single board. In my workspace, you can see I have lots of boards that I use. I have some that are for particular pattern releases. I have some that, manage my long arm queue, and I use it in lots of different ways. So this is one board. And within a board, you have lists, right? I can add another list. I can, organize these things into as many lists as I want. I think Trello is often used for time management. So it's common to have like a done, in progress, things like that. But you can organize it lots of different ways. And then each list has cards in it. And so you'll see at the bottom of each list, you can add a new card. And a card is just like an item. And within each item, and within each card, there you can add lots and lots of information. Um, for this Trello project, most of your cards will be a particular quilt that you're working on or that you want to work on. But I've added some cards up here already to just act like headers for you. Okay. So that's the general idea of how Trello works. When you open this, you'll notice that this is actually a template. And so up at the top, right, you'll see an opportunity to create a board from the template. That's going to make it so that you can have your own copy of this. You can modify it. You can make it your own, get rid of things you don't want, add things you do. So if I click that, it then lets me retitle it. So you can call it whatever you want. It's currently called Quilt Queue Tracker, and then it has my business name next to it. Maybe you put your name here. I can't leave that typed that way. And then it'll be in your workspace, and um, and then I hit create. All right, it's going to create the board for me. So now it looks exactly the same, but this is my version of it that I can edit for you. You'll see at the top, it'll have the title that you gave it, and all of the same information. Okay, great. So you'll see in this board that I have 5 lists set up for you. You can modify them however you like. This first one has a little bit about me, about my business, about this board. It has some tips on how to use this board so you can remind yourself, what to do here. And it has some helpful links. I actually have only added one at this point, but you can go on and add any of your favorite links that you like to use. Just a nice place to have your resources set. This first list here, you don't have to keep. You can get rid of it, or you can collapse it. There's little arrows here if it's taking up room. So I can hide and collapse that particular list, or just delete it. Archive is how they delete things here. So I would just say archive this list. Okay. Okay, so I have organized the cards for this project into 4 categories. This is how I like to think about my quilts that I'm working on. So the first one is where I will collect patterns that I want to do, right? Future dream projects, anything I'm excited about doing. So if a new pattern comes out that I'm interested in, I might come make a card for it right away just to kind of put it in here like, don't forget you want to work on that pattern. As I begin working on quilt patterns, I will move it to the work in progress. And I can move things just by dragging them like that. And I'll show you more about this card in a minute. And then when it's finished, I will drag it over to finished, or, give yourself permission. You don't have to finish every quilt that you start, perhaps. I can bring it over here to abandoned and say, maybe for another day, I might come back to it someday, but right now it's abandoned and I want it off to the side. And some people like to just put it there and then collapse that so that, they're not seeing it all the time, but it's still, you have a record of it. It's not gone. Okay. And so if you organize your work in different ways, you can add lists. Um, you can remove lists. This is just to get you started. This is what works for me. That's what I'm going to show you today. But, this is totally customizable. So let me start by showing you a finished card or what it looks like when you've added all of the information. You can see when I click it that I've added a photo. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. Um, and I've just filled out the information for it inside. I've said what the name of the pattern is, who was the designer. It's my pattern. Uh, I put down what size I used, what fabric pull I had, and any notes I want to add. So this was my quarter 2 pattern release. This released at the end of quarter 2 in 2025. And so I have all that information here. If I want to add to this description, I just hit edit and I can come in here and add, just type in it like any text box and then hit save. I can add a photo. I just hit add and that will take me to my desktop. You can navigate and just upload any photo that you want. And there's a checklist. And you can see here that I've actually completed all the parts of the checklist. You'll also see like a record of activity. So if you've moved the card or anything like that, it shows all of that here. That's useful. Sometimes people use Trello on a team, and so you'll be able to see if you were working on a team, who did what to this card at different times. Trello is a really powerful program. Don't let it overwhelm you. If you're new to this kind of program, you can ignore a lot of the things in here, anything that you're not like interested in using. Um, there's all these buttons. You don't necessarily have to use them. Oh, also, um, for me, I had a due date for this pattern because it was part of a release. So I wanted to make sure it was done by a certain date. So let's show you how to use how to use the template. Templates are really useful when you want to have like a card type, and you can have multiple templates, but they're really nice if you're going to have like if you had different types of projects, you could have a template for each type of project. So I've made a template for each quilt, and you can modify the template by clicking on it. So if there's something that you want to add to this for all future quilts that you do, you can add it right to the template, rather than having to add it to each quilt as you go. And then any future quilt cards that you make, they'll have that feature. So if there is a step in the progress that you wanted to add or take away, or a field that you wanted to remember to put in the description, you could actually modify the template. But I actually want to create a card from the template. If I hit add a card, I'm just going to get a blank card, which you're welcome to do for other things. But if you're actually ready to make a new quilt card, you'll hit create card from template. Okay. And so the first thing you need to do is give it a name. I'm going to use my Front Street pattern as an example as we go through this. So I'm going to write Front Street. Excuse me, I have a little frog. And it adds it here to my future dream projects. We start the projects here, as as like the birthplace of each new card, but you can move it along as you go. So when I click that, I can now start editing the card for this. So I can go to the description and I can say the pattern is whoops, street. The designer is Meghan Morris. And then size. So some patterns have multiple sizes, or you may just want to note here what the size is that you're going to use. So let's say I'm going to use the throw size. So I'm going to put in row, and the throw size of this one is 62 inches by 62 inches. And then for fabric or pull, maybe you don't know yet and you just leave it blank because you might come back to that. Or maybe oh, I've got this fabric I want to use for that pattern. I'm gonna remind myself of that here. Um, this happens to be a jelly roll pattern, so I'm just gonna say, let's say I'm gonna do a Christmas jelly roll. And then any notes, maybe I'm going to put in here, this will be my sister's Christmas gift. Not really, but that's just an example. So I can add all of these things to the description and hit save. Perhaps in the progress, maybe I've already got a copy of the pattern. I wrote purchased or written because you might be a pattern designer. You might write your own patterns. And maybe I've already got the fabric that I want to use. Okay. As I finish the steps, I just check them off here. Okay. Um, there are labels. So up here, you'll see labels. And I have started you with some labels that you may want to do. These are optional. They kind of color code your projects so you can see things at a glance. And you can click as many of them as you want, or you can even create a new label. If there's a label that you're going to use often, you probably want to add it to the actual template, like I showed you a couple minutes ago. But if you just want to label this one in a particular way, you could do that. So, for example, maybe it's a gift and it's a holiday themed quilt. Okay. So I can check those and you'll see here, it put the labels at the top and you can kind of see in the background, it put two little color codes up there to remind me, oh, after you use this for a while, you'll remember, okay, that was a gift and it's a holiday themed quilt. If I have a due date for this, I can add that here, dates, and I can set a due date. So maybe I need this done, and I'm going to navigate here. Let's say by September 30th. Okay. And so I'm going to save that, and it'll say due date September 30th up here. Let me show you a few other things that you can do. So some cool tips. If I go back to edit my description, this is like a standard text editor. I can do things like bold or italicize something. I can change the heading level, right? Text or heading level. So if I wanted to reorganize this, I could. You can add bulleted lists or numbered lists here, right? I can add a hyperlink. Maybe I want to make a hyperlink to this actual pattern. So I could add a link here, right? Just copy in the link and the text you want it to say. So maybe I say, I have to get a link. Select Front Street and add a link. Right? So if I wanted to get to that pattern really easily, I could. And I can also add an image. So this is, if I had a link to the image, like maybe the designer has a link, an image on their website that you want to link to, you could use the link to that. Or you could upload a link, an image from your computer. So if you had maybe a picture of the cover of the quilt or a picture of your progress, anything you want to add here, you could. So I can upload from my computer and select the image that you want. I just grabbed the cover shot of this. And now it shows up here. Um, it automatically will show up as the cover. If you have multiple images here, you could go to cover, and I could choose to remove it, right? So I don't want a cover on it. Maybe I only do that for finished quilts, perhaps. I could hit cover here. I could just add a color to the cover. A quick tip, that's how I did those headings for each list, and I can go in and show you that in a moment. So if I just wanted to have an orange cover, I could do that. And I could either have it have a little band at the top, or, and you can kind of see in the background, or it will take over the whole card. Or I can use one of my attachments, right? I've already got Front Street as an attachment, so I'm going to use that one. And I could have it be full size or a zoom in. If you kind of look over here in the background, you can see which one. And I'm going to use the whole cover for now. So when I close that, you'll see the whole cover shows up there. So that's an option if you want to have photos. It could get really busy if you add these large photos to each of your quilts, if you have a lot of quilts in your project pile like I do. So maybe you just add that to your finished quilts. However you want to do it, it's optional. But also, this is obviously a work in progress, right? Because I've already got my fabric pull acquired. It's up to you to choose when you move it to your work in progress. Maybe you don't consider it a work in progress until you start cutting, or maybe, as soon as you have the intention to work on it, you move it. That's totally up to you. So I'm going to move this over to my work in progress pile, and there it is. Um, and if I want to change the cover, for me, it's a little bit busy to have them all like that. Um, I can just change the cover color or just remove the cover altogether. And so there it is, Front Street. And again, I'll show you this finished one here. Right, I put a photo of the actual quilt in because it was a finished quilt, and everything was checked off. The date had passed. It's past July 27th. The pattern was released, and it's good to go. So right now I have two patterns in here. I have a work in progress and I have a finished quilt. And you might get started just by adding the quilts that are in your future queue into this list. So you can always come here and you can just start by putting their names in. I'm just going to throw in a few of my own. So I can create one for resolutions. I can create one for splendid, shameless plug for my quilt patterns. I can create one for present parcels. And I can create one for meadow charm. Oh, gracious. And so on. Um, or maybe you don't start with your future projects. Maybe you go through your cabinet or your storage and think about, okay, well, what are my works in progress that I want to organize? And you can take each bin out one at a time. I'm saying bins because I keep my quilts in a little project bin, and you might just add those straight to your work in progress, and that way you can start organizing. Um, so one of the kind of cool things you could do is you can move these around. So let's say I really want to get Meadow Charm done first. I can put it to the top. You could organize these in whatever way you want. I can say, Meadow Charm is really urgent, and then I'll do resolutions, and then Splendid Shimmer, and then Present Parcels. Or if I've started Meadow Charm, here I can arrange them here too, right? This is my works in progress, and the one I want to do first is Meadow Charm, and then I'm going to move on to Front Street, or vice versa. So ordering them there is one of the ways that I prioritize what I'm doing next, right? I can see what's on top and I can change that if I need to. I want to add a couple labels to things because I want you to see. I spelled shimmer wrong. Um, I can edit that right here. Um, I want you to see a cool filter. So let's say this is a quilt along. Let's say this is another holiday quilt. And let's say this one, maybe this one also has a due date coming up. Maybe they're due in October. Maybe it was a pattern test. Here, let me add that too. If you're a pattern tester for somebody, you can kind of keep track of your pattern tests that way too. The reason I wanted to do that is because there's a really nice filter option, which can be super useful when your queues start to get like really long. If you have a lot of projects in your queue, I can say things like, just show me things that are maybe due in the next month. And I don't have any there, but if I did, or show me anything that's a pattern test, right? And so when I click that, it shows me only the cards that are for pattern tests. And I can see other ones here, right? Maybe say, show me all my holiday quilts. And so now I just see the ones that I have labeled as holiday quilts. So this filter is a really useful tool, but it's only useful if you use some of these features. So adding dates and adding labels gives you the opportunity to use the filters in a really smart way. All right. Before we wrap up, I wanted to take a second and make sure I showed you where you can get a copy of Trello. So I just went to Trello.com, and there's like multiple places on their homepage that you can get Trello. And I know homepages change over time, but like right now I can say get Trello for free, or I can put in my email and sign up. It's free right here. I do, if a couple things look a little bit different in my version, I do have a paid plan, but everything I showed you today is available on the free plan. So you don't need to worry about that. This is not a program that you need to pay for if you're just doing some basic things like I showed you today. And you can see, you can access it on your tablet or your phone or on the computer like I showed you today. Thank you so much for coming to watch my Tame Your Quilt Queue presentation today. I really hope that you feel inspired and organized to tackle your quilt queue, and I hope that you feel good about learning a new program to help you stay organized. Trello is an amazing program and can be used for so many different things. So if you're ready to get started with your Trello board, you can sign up to get your free copy of your Tame Your Quilt Cube board that I showed you today. You can get a special discount code for your first long arm quilting service with me if you're a new client, and a coupon to use in my quilt pattern shop if you saw any patterns today that might maybe inspired you. So you can get all of that by signing up at www.apieceofquietquilts.com/summit. If you have questions or comments or just want to tell me different ways that you use Trello, definitely feel free to email me at megan@apieceofquietquilts.com. And I look forward to seeing what you do with it. Thanks so much.